Exotic Butts continuing to give out the gift subs. Thank you. And you know what? For those of you who receive it, I think you do have to manually continue it, and I hope that that when it comes time, it's something that you'll end up wanting to do. Another target eliminated, says Exotic Butts. Roger, you say Dragonborn? Is that in an answer to what kind of character? Because Nemi's asking, would you want to play a hero or a villain? Is that an answer there? Lurker be gone. All right. So before we can get our character building going, we have to open up something, and that's something being our random roll guide for characters. So here we go. Oh, no, I understand, Exotic. I totally understand. Roger, your name is in that player's handbook. Oh, can you be more, like, what do you mean, Roger? All right, we need a couple things here. We're going to need a dice roller. We're going to need our roll guide, and we're going to need a blank character sheet. Our first roll is going to determine if we have a female character, a male character, or we're going to go multi-class. Now remember, we normally stick to just the player's handbook. Tonight, for the backgrounds only, we are going to make this first character a haunted one out of Curse of Strahd. And our second character is going to be an archaeologist out of Tomb of Annihilation. Whoa, Risky Luke is here! And Civil Hermit is lurking as well. So, hello to you, Luke. Gotta run, thank you so much. Gathering of Nerds. So the camera's a little low. Heart to you all. Thank you. And I will make sure to get your stuff packed up, and I'll take some fun pictures to show you what's coming down your way. I may even include a little special something as well as a show of gratitude, because if for all of you who do adopt minis out of our orphanage, I usually do include a couple extra special thank yous. Oh, the cultural names for Dragonborn. Got it, Roger. And you know what? That's an extra cool detail for people to know. Do you need a computer to play? If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you do not need a computer. At least not traditionally. It is a traditional pen and paper role-playing game. Though, of course, there are virtual tabletops which would require a mobile device or a computer of some kind to play. It's going very well, Luke. In fact, speaking of projects, Luke, whenever I get that recipe from you all, I'm going to go down to my brewer store, and I'll pick up the ingredients, and I will brew up that first batch of Old Wheat Water, which is the featured beer of the Tumbled Wench. All right, let's roll a percentile die. 49. We have a male character. Now we're going to roll a d10 and figure out which race out of the player's handbook. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a human. And now I'm going to roll a d10 again for odds or evens. Odds, it's a standard human. Or even, it's a standard human. Odds, it's a variant human. Evens. So we have a standard human. And I'll go over what that means here in a second. Now we're going to roll for the character's alignment. I'm going to roll 2 percentiles. One of them is to represent the axis of good, neutral, evil. The second is for lawful, chaotic, or lawful, neutral, or chaotic. Here we go. 9736. We have a neutral evil character. Who's medium-sized, by the way, by being a human. Now, in our guide, the way that we build characters here on the channel is going to be different than the way that the book instructs you, or that even your own DM will instruct you. There's a couple things where you do, like use the standard array, half plus 1 hit points when you level up, and we do allow feats. Not all DMs may allow the use of feats. And, you know, your DM might say, yeah, you could play a death cleric that's good aligned. In fact, that's Celine. You know, Celine isn't an evil character, but she is a cleric of death. For what we do, I save death if you are an evil character that ends up rolling into a cleric, or if you are a paladin and an evil character, then Oathbreaker Vengeance out of the Dungeon Master's Guide becomes an option for you. So we'll see if this becomes a thing depending on the class that we roll up. Next, I want to generate at which level are we making this character? And that's going to be 1 percentile. I rolled a 27, and so that is going to generate a level 8 character. Actually, I'm going to do this to make it a little easier as we're going back and forth. Okay. Now, at level 8, we have the possibility of getting 2 feats. Because at level 4 and level 8, unless you're a fighter, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, you get what's called an ability score improvement, or an ASI. It's a stat bump, where you can increase one of your scores by 2, or 2 of your scores by 1. Instead, if your DM allows, you can take a feat. I'm going to roll a percentile set, and we're going to find out if this character is all natural and takes the stat bumps, or if we're going to replace one or both of those with feats. A 92. So both of the ASIs are going to be replaced by feats. 1 and 2. Now, for the background, we already know what that's going to be. Our background is Haunted One. And we're going to explore what the Haunted One means when we go over to the Curse of Strahd book. So right now it's a placeholder, as all of our random number generation is currently. Then when we have everything in place, we're going to go through and manifest the character. We're going to draw him out of our imaginations, pull him from the ether, and make him real. But says, what could I do to organize, be it this current storyline or another, a character befitting myself without actually playing? I can't play due to time constraints in most cases, but if I can interject a character, that might be interesting. So what can you do to... So what you can do is talk to a DM and find out if the DM has an NPC that you would be able to play on and off, kind of like, that you could take control over. Maybe the party has a follower, a squire following a knight around, and you could always hop in and then provide decision-making and dice rolls and agency to that NPC whenever you show up. Because whenever you're not, he's still following people around. Or he could just be an influential merchant in town, and the party just happens to be in town quite often. So, you could bartend or not. Well, yeah, you could bartend. You could sell items. You could sell weapons, or you could provide a service like meal or brewing, like making meals or brewing. And you might even say, you know what? I need to go collect mushrooms for my next dish, but I hear that the woods are infested with goblins. Would you mind coming along? And then you could fight alongside them and then not have to worry if you can't make it to the next session or two, because you got your mushrooms and the story goes on. You lost stream for a solid minute. Is this... Yes, that was a response to your question, Exotic Butts. And now it is time to roll the golden D12. Let's determine which class our character is. And I saved this for last for a reason. All too often, we might describe our characters as an elven wizard. Or even, you know, say I'm running a female high elf wizard. Okay, it's kind of descriptive. But remember, in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, your character sits atop a stool, and a stool needs at least 3 legs to be sturdy. In this edition, those 3 legs are your race, your class, which we're going to get to, and our background. And so to try and break us out of that, I play an elven cleric. I play a dwarven paladin. I save the class for last, because as we're imagining this character step by step, I want to save what many people consider to be the juicy bits for last. Right? I want to find out who our character is, then we'll worry about what he does. Now let's roll the D12 and find out. We rolled an 11, a Warlock. So we have a male, human, neutral, evil Warlock. Warlocks have 3 different patrons and 3 different pacts. I am going to roll 2d3 to determine the combination of patron and pact for our Warlock. I'm going to generate that here, a 2 and a 3, and hit roll. Oops, I rolled 3d2. There we go. I'm going to do this correctly now. 1 and 3. Alright, so we have a Warlock of the Archfey Pact. It was 1 and 3. And Pact of the Tome. So we have a Fey Tome Warlock. Yes, Rightel, that's a good summary. You were born, you have an early life of a hobby, a job, some sort of skill, and then you become an adventurer. I like that, Rightel. Butts says, please send it through Discord later because I missed 90% of it. Okay, Butts. All right, next up. Let's provide a little bit of physicality to our character. Humans start at 4 feet. Now, I mean, look, if you're generating this character yourself, make your character whatever size you want. I mean, work with the DM. This is the suggestion. We start at 4 feet 8 inches, and we're going to add 2d10 inches to his height. So we're adding 7. So we have a human that is 4 feet 15 inches tall. And by that I mean 5'3". We are going to take this same 7 and we are going to multiply it by 2d4. 6. So we're going to add 42 pounds to the base weight of 110. So our human is 152 pounds and 5'3". Now this isn't with gear. This isn't with, grappling hooks and rope and tents and a backpack. This is, he wakes up in the morning and he's in his pajamas, and he brushes his teeth while scratching his butt, and there you go. Like, it's his dry weight. Now, lastly, and this is an interesting detail that even the player's handbook doesn't necessarily prompt. I'm going to roll a percentile set of dice. And we're going to find out where in this character's life cycle he is. And this is the fun challenge. Think about a character maybe you've played before. And if you kept everything on the sheet exactly the same, mechanically and all that, but you made the character go from being a 25-year-old, you know, fresh to the world adventurer to a 60-year-old, that can change a lot about a character. Just that age number, which doesn't really even have mechanics tied to it. But I love that challenge. And you know what? We've made some very interesting child characters, very interesting elder characters, which are good to represent as well, because, you know, you got to be mindful of that as a player or as a DM. So anyway, here's the percentile roll for that. We rolled a 78. So on my chart here, this is a middle-aged character, which is column 4. For a human, this character is going to be between 41 and 55 years old. So I'm going to generate a 15-sided die, and I'm going to roll it. He is 52 years old. Middle-aged at 52. Dark Wolf. Oh, woo! Dark Wolf lurks no more. You have been re-upped. Uh-oh. Dark mode engaged, says Exotic Butts. Now, we can bear this in mind as we're telling the story of our character. I would also like to point out, if any of you are new, that when we say neutral evil, an evil character doesn't just murder for the fun of it. Even a chaotic evil character isn't compelled to murder for the fun of it. They can. Evil as a concept, or really as an alignment, as a way to express yourself, is, think of you have a more selfish character. His preferences come first. His goals come first. He is willing to sacrifice time, or other people's time especially, and resources and money, so that he achieves what he wants. If he was lawful, that's more methodical. Chaotic is more impulsive. Good is more selfless. So I like adding that reminder in, because there may be many of us who still hold on to the old notions of alignment, where if you are lawful evil, you have to play Darth Vader. If you're a chaotic good character, you have to be wacky Looney Tunes and everything is fun in games all the time. That's not the case. Luke. XCat says there's standard alignment and then celestial alignment. Only creatures with the celestial alignment are compelled to act via their alignment, kinda. Meow. Well, in that case, they're manifestations of this concept. Just how you have elementals that are manifestations of water or fire, you have these ideals or celestials or whatever you want to call them that are an element of expression. And so, being an element of expression, they manifest in a very common way. And so that's why devils have the reputation they do. That almost all devils act the same way, because devils are a manifestation of lawful evil. That's a good way of looking at it, XCat. All right. Well, we do not need our random number generator anymore. So congrats to us. We finished this step. It's now time to explore the character's background. And I want to do this first because our background is going to tell us about our character. It's going to give our character. We are going to become more informed about this character through the background than even as a warlock or just knowing that he's a human. Yeah, don't sub bomb the bots in here, exotic butts. As much as I guess like they don't harm anything, but as much as they're always in here, I don't think they need any bonuses. Demons? Yeah, well, I'm not saying that they can't. All right, so Player's Handbook. Normally this is chapter 4, but we're going to be using the Curse of Strahd supplement because inside this module is a new character background called Haunted One. You are haunted by something so terrible that you dare not speak of it. You've tried to bury it and run away from it to no avail. Whatever this thing is that haunts you can't be slain with a sword or banished with a spell. It might come to you as a shadow on the wall, a blood-curdling nightmare, a memory that refuses to die, or a demonic whisper in the dark. The burden has taken its toll, isolating you from most people and making you question your sanity. You must find a way to overcome it before it destroys you. We are going to get some skill proficiencies then with this background. Arcana, Investigation, Religion, or Survival. We'll come back to this as I want to see his personality and where that might lead us to specialize in a skill. Languages. Choose one exotic language. Abyssal, Celestial, Deep Speech, Draconic, Infernal, Primordial, Sylvan, or Undercommon. Alright, so as a human, we get to learn... Oh, pardon me. Common, and one other. And then we get an exotic other. Did we learn to speak Abyssal because a demon haunts us? Did we learn to speak Draconic because a dragon has chosen to give us nightmares to drive us mad? Perhaps we had an ancestor that did it wrong. And from then on, everyone in the family's been tormented by these dragon dreams. So, we'll see, right? Equipment. We get a Monster Hunter's Pack. We will get also, pardon me, a Gothic Trinket. And we'll roll that up because that's on a special table here as well. Alright. Now, we are a haunted one, but what made us a haunted one? There are 10 different options here. We're going to roll a d10 and find out what is making our nightmares linger on this character. We rolled a 1. A monster that slaughtered dozens of innocent people spared your life, and you don't know why. Many people will call this survivor's guilt. And so our character is suffering from survivor's guilt, and that is what is haunting him. And I wonder, could that monster be the patron to which he made this pact? Perhaps we know why, or rather we would choose to suppress that knowledge because it's not convenient to us working for the very creature that slaughtered our friends. Now, does it have to be that? No. I'm throwing out an idea, and if you like it, you like it. If you have a different one, bring it on. Yes, an exotic language, exotic butts. Demonic Whisper sounds like something I would do, Nemi. Hey, you just go up, it's demonic ASMR. Just... Pss, 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 pss. Always got to have one to tell the others of the atrocity. Hey, there you go, Butts. You're getting into it. Slaughter 1,000, but leave one so the legend spreads. The fear must spread. All right, our background feature. Every background gives you a way to insert yourself into the story and manipulate an aspect of it, almost as a co-DM or a way to bend the story towards your character. So we have a Heart of Darkness. Those who look into your eyes can see that you have faced unimaginable horror and that you are no stranger to darkness. Though they might fear you, commoners will extend you every courtesy and do their utmost to help you. Unless you have shown yourself to be a danger to them, they will even take up arms to fight alongside you, should you find yourself facing an enemy alone. That can be very powerful, right? You get the locals worked up. You know, are you tired of the goblins raiding your farm? I'll go and I'll risk my life to fight them, but you're going to come with me. And people understand that you have given up so much, you have this haunted past, that you can inspire them to come and help you. All right, we have our harrowing event, and now we need 2 personality traits. I'm going to roll 2d8, and we're going to discover which ones they are. 3 and 5. Personality trait 3. I spend money freely and live life to the fullest, knowing that tomorrow I might die. And 5. I don't talk. Pardon me. It's not for me being tired. This is I ate a pretty good dinner before going live here, and so you know when you eat, your body's like, oh, I'm so warm and comfortable. This is wonderful, and that's what that is. I'm not bored at all. I want to see where this character goes. So 5 is I don't talk about the thing that torments me. I'd rather not burden others with my curse. Warm and comfortable. Try an Australian summer. Food just makes you sweat more. Hey, Coffee Cat. By the way, Coffee, if you didn't just see, the emotes have been cleared and are now usable in chat. If you have BTTV, they'll show up for you, but because I do, you should be able to see them in chat up above. So for all of you who are wondering, Coffee Cat made emotes of the 5 characters in the Tuesday game, and of course those can represent a lot of other emotions. And so the code for that is a lowercase t plus the name of the character, the first name of the character. The exception is Noralai, who has been shortened to T Nora, because Noralai might be a little bit complicated for people to spell. So if you want to give that a try, it's lowercase t, no space, uppercase first letter, and the rest of the name. Our character's ideal. We're going to roll... Actually, we're going to roll 3d6 for an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. 1, 6, 3. These are our placeholders. 1, 6, and 3. Our character's ideal is as follows. I try to help those in need, no matter what the personal cost. Now, this is listed as a good ideal. And you may say, well, we have an evil character. How does that work? Remember, the neutral evil alignment is the overall expression of the character from his own thoughts and actions into the world. He may still want to help people. He's just not necessarily going to be nice about it. Right? So he'll help people in need. Is there a kid, crying and he runs to the alleyway and sees that, there's some bullies who chased him out of school. Instead of sitting down and talking to the bullies and teaching them a lesson, he may end up, Eldritch blasting them, in order to, expose their sternum and, not kill them, just expose their sternum so that as they're sitting in bed for the next couple weeks recuperating from this grievous injury, they have time to think about their decision. You see? He wanted to help the kid being bullied, but he did almost murder a child to do so. Hey, Coffee Cat has it. T Bright, T Mordecai. Yes, Civil Hermit, you could just omit personal from that ideal too. That's true. And that's a very good point. If you have oh, by the way, thank you. Sorry, my earphones just went out, so I caught the visual. Exotic Butts, sounds like me in terms of alignment. I have what I once called chronic selflessness on a stream ages back. Term is fitting enough, also take my money. Well, thank you very much, and you know what? I'm sorry I missed that beautiful accent. I'll have to plug in and charge my battery as I'm broadcasting here to you all. And there we go. But yeah, Civil Hermit, you brought up a very good point. We have the core idea of what the ideal is, and if you want to tweak that in its verbiage or its execution, talk to your DM. Alrighty. Now, let's figure out our character's bond. Hey, Dark Wolf, welcome. I wonder how that happened, Dark Mode, says Exotic Butts. Alright, number 6 was the bond that we randomly determined. I have a child. How fortuitous. I have a child to protect. I must make the world a safer place for him or her. We have a child that we want to grow up in a better world. Do as I say, not as I do. Now look away while Daddy bends this person's fingers backwards to get some information out of him. I do not, Nemi. It means humor? I did not know. Now, our character's flaw. Every character has a flaw in 5th edition. We all have a weakness. This includes NPCs also, by the way. If you want to do some in-depth, world building with your DM, explore an NPC's ideals, bonds, and flaws. That said, we're all flawed creatures in and out of character. This character's particular flaw is number 3. I feel no compassion for the dead. They're the lucky ones. That can be dangerous, because if we do not revere death, or if we do not find significance in death, often we become the agent of it. We are nothing more than the machine that manifests death in the world. Because it's a job. It's something to do. Maybe not because you're bored, but because it has to be done and you're going to be the one to do it. And so this character can be extremely dangerous because of that. I hope now, in hearing this, the personality, the ideal, the bond, and the flaw of the character, if you have a... Exactly. Yeah, Team Jade. Y'all can... You can put some Team Jade over in chat. Can you imagine this character? He's middle-aged, right? He's 52. He's been in the world. He has a kid, or kids, that he wants to protect. And, you know, death means little to him. Now, let's give him this gothic trinket. Here. So hopefully you can see them on stream. But the emotes were approved by BTTV, Derek. Oh, why hello, Vomit. Welcome. And I'm sorry, what do you do on the stream besides make character thingies? Are you going to stream a D&D game? So, Vomit, I'm sorry, it took a second for me to get back to chat. On Tuesdays, we do, in fact, broadcast a game with 5 of our viewers in chat. In fact, yesterday's VOD is available, and I'll tell you, it was a heck of a session. I'm definitely all tingly for it. It was a really solid session. And like an open public game is going to be occurring. So you're going to have to stay tuned for details as I work out how to manage that. So primarily we're a workshop. On Tuesdays, we do roleplay, and there will be another day of roleplay to be announced. Are you a good villain? I'd have to know more about you, Nemi. All right, so we've discovered our character. Middle-aged male, neutral evil. So, you know, he's rather selfish. Oh, hey, thank you for giving out that gift. Vomit, welcome aboard. He has a kid, and he doesn't value death as really anything worth getting upset over. And he's willing to play with his own life, but he does want to make the world a better place for his kid. he carries with him some kind of a gothic trinket. And I'm going to roll a percentile set, and we're going to find out what he carries and perhaps how that plays into his character. We rolled a 51. 51 is pallid leather gloves crafted with ivory fingernails. He wears these pale leather gloves with ivory fingernails. Perhaps they're long. Maybe they can act as a bit of like claws. Or maybe they're just made to be very eerily reminiscent of something. Or maybe he wears those gloves because of something that happened to his hands a while ago that he doesn't want anyone to see or know about. Perhaps including his own son or daughter, or plural of either. We are being productive, and if you have a question about something, you're welcome to ask a very civil question, animal. You know, I'm hoping that this isn't going to turn into something more, given the name that's being used. But this is an opportunity to be productive. Okay. We have a personality. We have a way to work in perhaps the patron of this warlock. In 5th edition, I mean in prior, but specifically here because we're speaking in 5th, a warlock receives their powers Well, you're welcome to share the story, animal. A warlock receives his or her powers from a patron. You sign a contract with a being that's greater than you. And that being extends a portion of its power to you and through you to act as its agent. What am I missing in chat here? For those of you who are coming here, if there is a problem, it doesn't need to escalate into name calling or into any kind of provocation. If there's an issue, you can bring it up with me or a moderator. But this isn't the type of channel that we promote that here. All right. specifically for this character, he is getting his power through an Archfey, a very great power from the Feywild, which is this realm of, well, depending on how you look at it, I mean, we might be familiar with devils and demons. That's the Fiend Pact. Great Old Ones are these elder gods, you know, very Lovecraftian horror, things that defy explanation. And the Fae are almost dark reflections of ourselves. Yes, they encompass nature, but they aren't just about... They aren't just about the things that you may read about, you know, brownies playing tricks on people in their houses, or, you know, gnomes cobbling shoes for good people. The Fae can also be very powerful, ancient, and dark, because their morals and values aren't the same as those of mortals, because they're not mortal. Or at least not naturally mortal anyway. And so this character has come into contact and has entered into an agreement with an Archfey of some kind. You know, a lord of a Seelie court somewhere. Or some other great Fey being. And through that, patron receives a pact where, in exchange for a service of some kind, he will get to wield a fragment of this ancient being's power. And this can very well play into the background, especially for this haunted one, where he may be even suppressing the memories of entering into this pact, or realize, I would rather work for the devil I know, even though it's a Fae and not a devil. I'd rather work for the devil I know than the one that I don't. Derek, thank you. Nemi, we have been visited. We have been visited by two people who are choosing to willingly come into a channel and disrupt it for whatever reason, and it's been dealt with. Okay, it's fine, Derek. Yeah, Luke, how you guys run your show, it's a little bit different. I'm not saying it's better or worse. In fact, I really wish that you all didn't get trolls either. But you know, here it's certainly very inappropriate, and you know, you give people a chance. You give them that opportunity to not be a person, because a lot of people will lead up. They'll try and be coy. Hey, party parent. A lot of people will try and be coy or set up for a joke or to get me to read a name that's inappropriate, when it's just not. Oh, you have? Oh, hey, Luke, I'm glad. You know what? Maybe you know, sometimes banter can work like that. But on a show like this, I mean, we show that up front. Hey, be cool, contribute to the conversation, and if they don't, then it is what it is. You have to go to sleep an hour ago, so you have to say goodnight. Unit, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed what we've explored so far, and if you have questions, get a hold of me. Weapons and armor for enemies been known to appear as... Oh, yeah, because you sent over the stat sheet for your character, Nemi. I did read over that. Okay. Now, let's explore who or what being a human brings to the table. We've explored the character's background. And this is important because this shapes the character's character. It helps us make decisions. In fact, with that, we are still owed a skill, and I mean, we could consider a language. In fact, because we're going Archfey, I almost want to say our exotic language is going to be Sylvan, right? It's this primordial language of the Fae. It's like the mother tongue of the Fae. And what better way to communicate with your patron than in that language? Now, as for skill proficiencies, Arcana, Investigation, Religion, and Survival. Well, I spend money freely, live life to the fullest. I don't talk about the thing that torments me. I try to help those in need, no matter what the personal cost, or we could drop personal and just say the cost. I have a child to protect. I must make the world a safer place, and I feel no compassion for the dead. They're the lucky ones. Investigation is really speaking to me for this character. Right? Someone who goes out on behalf of his patron and solves the problems that need to be solved. Someone who is enacting the will of the Archfey to find someone, to remedy a situation, to hunt down enemies of the patron. Now, if you have a different idea, if you think maybe Arcana, hey, shout it out in chat. This isn't my character, this is our character. Though to me, Investigation just seems really resounding. Alright, that's our background package. Now, we come back over to the player's handbook, and we come down to humans. Humans, especially a standard human, nice and easy. You do not get dark vision. You do get 30 feet of movement. And you get a +1 to all of your ability scores. Congratulations, you are a medium-sized human. That may not seem like a lot, but it can really add up. I do want to stress that. Yeah, if you want to send that over, Exotic, that's perfectly fine. You'd say Investigation 2, Butts. They have experience due to being a survivor, potentially of many encounters. Arcana requires more in the way of actual study, in my opinion. Alright, so, hey, we're a human. That was easy, huh? Now it's time to go over to classes and Warlock. Warlocks are very interesting. We're generating an 8th level Warlock, and so this is what we have to consider. Our proficiency bonus is 3. We're going to know 3 cantrips. 1, 2, 3. And we'll get to the spells lastly, because that depends on our ability scores. And honestly, our ability scores are one of the last things that we put on our character sheet. Yes, they are very important to running a character, but we need to understand the character first before we put numbers to the to these aspects of him. And we are going to have 2 spell slots of 4th level. Whoops. There we go. Warlocks are casters, but they are a different variety of caster. We are also going to know 4 invocations. And to help us keep track, because some invocations are level dependent, we get our first 2 at 2nd level. We get our 3rd at 5th level. And we get our 4th at 7th level. So, Jade just got her next invocation. I know, Derek, you were talking about that last night. Alright, our hit dice. We're level 8. We get 8 D8 hit dice. Your hit dice represent your ability to get a second wind, to rest. It's sort of your your hail and hardiness to your character. So we can take, you know, a middle amount of damage with a little bit of amount of natural recovery. And because we're level 8, you get 1 hit die of your class every level, so there you go. Now, if we went 2 levels of Barbarian and 6 levels of Warlock, we'd have 6d8 hit dice and 2d12 hit dice, respectively. XCat says Warlocks tend to have an identity crisis between, I'm too weak and I'm too strong. Oh, all right. Well, Nemi, that's quite the commitment. But, you know, Luke is urging caution. Yeah, that's fine. Send it over in that form. That's fine, Exotic. Jade has 2 whole spells. Yay. I mean, in fairness, your invocations are sort of like inbuilt perma spells in a way, but... Risky Luke says tattoos are a way for the police to identify you after your killing spree. Oh, jeez. Sage wisdom. Alrighty. Now, we are going to get proficiency in light armor. We will also get proficiency with simple weapons. All of them, melee and ranged. And no tool proficiencies. Our saving throw proficiencies are going to be wisdom and charisma. So we're going to be better at making those saves than the others, as we're going to get to add our proficiency bonus to them and not just our ability modifier. Now we get to choose 2 skills from Arcana, Deception, History, Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. The things that are really popping out at me, given his background, given this character's bend of being a male human, Haunted One background, Fey Tome Warlock, would be Nature and Deception. He encompasses, right? I feel no compassion for the dead. Look, a dead person is a meal to a worm. Why do I feel compassion for a dead person when they need to decompose and become a part of the world? Right? I'm detached. Or I'm looking at this from this kind of clinical natural detachment, which is perhaps why this Archfey chose him and bound him into a contract. We already have investigation. I think that works. And for deception, well, I don't talk about the thing that torments me, right? He is mysterious. He does have these hidden aspects to his past, things that perhaps even wants to hide from his child or his children. Now, if you have other suggestions, feel free to drop them over in chat. All right, so Luke, you think deception and nature. You put religion, but we only get 2. So if you would prefer religion, what would you sacrifice and why? And I'm fine if we do. I'm open-minded here. If they're a survivor, nature should be a must, especially if proficient in investigation. Hey, Victor, welcome. All right, we're going to get some starting equipment. We'll get a light crossbow and 20 bolts or any simple weapon. We can give him the light crossbow. If something like a club or even a great club stands out, we want to make him a strength-based warlock, that's fine. But we're going over our starting equipment, and if your version of this character is different, that's fine. Make them different. A component pouch or an arcane focus. So we have someone that Spends his money freely, lives life to the fullest. I don't talk about the thing that torments me. I try to help those in need. I have a child to protect. I feel no compassion for the dead. We have a warlock, a Fey Tome warlock. What is jumping out at me is an arcane focus that is those gothic trinkets. The pallid leather gloves with the ivory nails. This is his arcane focus. And your DM may allow that. For purposes of this character sheet, I'm putting down arcane focus. A scholar's pack or a dungeoneer's pack. Well, he seems to be more of the go out and do things, the adventuring type. A dungeoneer's pack. We're going to get some leather armor, any simple weapon, and 2 daggers. Spend money freely, live life. So if he was studying nature, and maybe he, this is developing that detachment, right? He sees the cycle of life. He can look at a lion eating a meerkat family on National Geographic and realize, and not feel, oh, those poor things. Someone should stop those lions. Maybe he has, he doesn't have a tool proficiency in an herbalism kit, but he does have knowledge nature. So maybe he has a sickle as a simple weapon because he's used to gathering plant samples. Or a hatchet, something along those lines. We can put a sickle. In fact, he can dual wield with a sickle and a dagger if he wanted to. If you have other suggestions, you know where they can go, right up here. He's more or less a monster hunter, says Exotic. From how this is going, investigation, nature, deception, blades and leather sounds a lot like a survivor and a turned hunter. Butt says if you make the nails themselves the focus, you can do an in-story thing regarding breaking them on something. In fact, casting spells could even break the nails. And so he has to find the ivory or the other claw or fingernail material to replace them on the pallid glove. And so he must hunt. He must kill in order to replace his component pouch, if you get what I'm saying. Right? We could say this is an arcane focus, or we can say that this is his component pouch, kind of fuse the two concepts. So when he casts a spell, it's like maybe not he doesn't feel the pain, but it's like pulling a fingernail. And so he has to collect trophies to put the nails back into his glove so he can continue to work the will of his patron. Use the bones of your enemies to keep the hunt alive. There you go. All right, so we get cantrips. Again, magic is going to be one of the last things we do. I'm not going to worry about that. We are going to get some invocations, and we'll choose that here shortly. Our Pact of the Tome. Your patron gives you a grimoire called a Book of Shadows. When you gain this feature, choose 3 cantrips from any class's spell list. While the book is on your person, you can cast one of those cantrips, or you can cast those cantrips at will. They don't count against the number of cantrips known. So now we get our Book of Shadows 1, our Book of Shadows 2, and our Book of Shadows 3. And because we can choose from any other, that could include Druid. So if we want to play up this Fey aspect, we could give him Druidcraft. as a cantrip, which is, you know, like druid only. Only druids should know this. Well, where do the druids learn this magic? From the Fae. I still reckon this hunter might have become a warlock as a means of embodying the phrase "know thy enemy," i.e. to beat my enemy, I must become them, like a peasant becoming a mage to defeat another mage. You know, in that case, then, I don't know if he can take the polymorph invocation, but that may very well be the case. And so, we're making almost like a warlock ranger, which is an interesting concept. Become a monster to slay monsters. Yep. To say your favorite line of what, Nemi? I mean, as long as it's PG-13 or you're not trolling the channel, you can speak freely. There you go. Does that feel good to get out of your system? Alright, we're not high enough yet to get Mystic Arcanum at 11th level. So really we just have our invocations for our class feature. And of course we're not an Eldritch Master yet. Maybe one day he will be. Alright, the Archfey. Your patron is a lord or lady of the Fae, a creature of legend who holds secrets that were forgotten before the mortal races were born. This being's motivations are often inscrutable and sometimes whimsical, and might involve a striving for a greater magical power or the settling of age-old grudges. Beings of this sort include the Prince of Frost, the Queen of Air and Darkness, ruler of the Gloaming Court, Titania of the Summer Court, her consort Oberon, the Green Lord, Hirsum, the Prince of Fools, and Ancient Hags. We do get an expanded spell list as a warlock. Bear in mind, this does not act like an oath spell or a domain spell for paladins and clerics. What this means is your expanded spells get added to your options in the warlock spell list. So they will still consume the same spell known that you would get normally, and thus compete with the standard pool of warlock spells. So bear that in mind. This is not an oath spell or a domain spell. So let's see. At spell level, we can cast up to 4th level spells. So we can take Fairy Fire or Sleep, Calm Emotions and or Phantasmal Force, Blink and or Plant Growth, Dominate Beast and or Greater Invisibility. We also get some features from this archetype, or this pact, or this patron. We get Fey Presence. Starting at 1st level, your patron bestows upon you the ability to project the beguiling and fearsome presence of the Fey. As an action, you can cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from you to make a Wisdom saving throw against your Warlock spell save DC. They're charmed or frightened of you, your choice, until the end of your next turn. We are also at level 6 going to get Misty Escape. You vanish in a puff of mist in response to harm. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to turn invisible and teleport up to 60 feet in an unoccupied space you can see. You remain invisible until the start of your next turn, or until you attack or cast a spell. And we do not yet get Beguiling Defenses. Now it is time to look at the 4 Eldritch Invocations that we get. We can build him to be a blaster, right? Because you can really make that work for you. Eldritch Blast, Agonizing Blast for more damage. You can push people with it. You can get like super long range with it. Let's see. Mage Armor on yourself at will without expending a spell slot. You can cast Speak with Animals at will without expending a spell slot. That could be an interesting one for him. To give him beast speech. I kind of like that. If you think differently, let me know. We can become more of a caster if we take the Book of Ancient Secrets. But it is, it's very tempting. Like, this almost seems like an invocation tax, where if you play a tome lock, you have to take it. You don't have to, but it's definitely very good because it does allow you to cast ritual spells. Is that the 5e version of Phase Step? I'm not sure what Phase Step is. You could play into the whole thing with the abilities. Beast Speech would do that well. I do agree. You want more battles? Nemi, so you can duel other people, or you could have an exclamation point battle. You can also go on random adventures to win more experience points. I want to say if he is going into something like a Monster Hunter, I spend money freely. I don't talk about the thing that torments me. I help those in need. I feel no compassion for the dead. And I have a child to protect. I must make the world a safer place for him or her. I kind of like the gaze of two minds. Because for someone else in the party, he's not necessarily a loner. But for someone else in the party, he can watch through their senses, especially if they have dark vision or something along those lines. And so he can ride along to understand what he's getting into. This is a way for him to very subtly gather information. This is a way for him to understand his prey. Mire the Mind could be a good one, because if you cast slow, it makes it really easy to come up on your target and give him the old sickle across the tender spot. Let's see, one with shadows. When you're in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible until you move or take an action or reaction. Ooh, that's a spicy one. So if he did that, he could touch someone else and watch through their senses while he lurks behind in the shadows and becomes invisible. Oh, nice, Luke. Nice. Yeah, one with shadows I think does work very well in that regard. I kind of like this making him a hunter. It works with his haunted one, and it works with the way that he expresses himself. Right? He is a thrill seeker. That's why I don't feel compelled to give him the rituals. I think he's not necessarily impulsive or compulsive to where he should be chaotic evil. I just don't think he's the type to sit down, right? He sat down and look where that got him. It got him into the situation. If he was a naturalist or someone who studied, books or went out into the field, that's behind him now. Now he's a man of action, realizing he can die at any moment, and so he's a thrill taker. So let's give him Gaze of Two Minds. Let's give him Mire the Mind. And One with Shadows. And if you think it should be different, let me know. Or if you download this character at the end of the week, or you're making this along, on your own computer at home, you want different invocations? He is your version of this character, and that's perfectly fine. All right, now that we have this, we're almost ready to add our ability scores. Before that, I think that we should go to Chapter 6 and give him the 2 feats that he is going to take. And what is really jumping out at me is Skulker. You're an expert at slinking through shadows. You gain the following benefits. You can try to hide when you're lightly obscured from the creature from which you're hiding. When you're hidden from a creature and miss it with a ranged weapon attack, making the attack doesn't reveal your position. And dim light doesn't impose disadvantage on your perception checks relying on sight. Now, that's big because that's giving him low light vision or like a half dark vision. And being a human, especially one that does hunt and skulk, I think that's important, and he can really maximize the Skulker feat. Now, something else that could jump out at me, besides him, could be Weapon Master. As a Warlock, we're proficient in all simple weapons. If we take Weapon Master, we can increase our strength or dex by 1, but then we get proficiency with 4 weapons of our choice. We could choose 4 martial weapons instead, and so he can use something. He could use something like a short sword, or a rapier, or a spear, or a battle axe if we really wanted to. That's a possibility. It doesn't have to be that. Something else? Let's see. Observant is a solid one for him, I think. I'm not opposed to giving that to him, but I want to consider a couple more just in case. Oh! Mage Slayer. Mage Slayer. You've practiced techniques useful in melee combat now, because he is a warlock. Doesn't mean he can't be up in the mix. The techniques useful in melee combat against spellcasters, gaining the following benefits. When a creature within 5 feet of you casts a spell, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against the creature. When you damage a creature that is concentrating on a spell, that creature has disadvantage on saving throw attacks to maintain concentration. Now, that's a separate point. I could come up with my sickle and go boink and poke you with the sickle, and you have disadvantage to maintain concentration just from a normal attack, let alone if I'm making this reactive attack. And also you have advantage on saving throws against spells cast by creatures within 5 feet of you. So while we are up close and personal, we get this like shield or like this some, you know, manipulation. That could be very interesting. Fluffy Sheep says no slaying mages. Nemi, the creation process is amazing. I'd urge you to do so. Oh, you know what could be another really good one? Mobile. We get 10 extra feet of movement. When we use the dash action, difficult terrain doesn't cost us extra movement. And when you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from that creature for the rest of the turn, whether you're hit or not. He's mobile, he dashes, he stalks. I think mobile would be a really good one. Skulker, mobile, Fey Pact, Warlock. I'm kind of feeling that one. Triad ×2. I'm about to create a whole new slew of NPCs. Well, Triad, if you need some inspiration, if you have questions, this is the place to be. Welcome to the workshop. You are certainly welcome to ask those questions. So if we give him mobile, that goes up to 40 with a climb of 20, a swim of 20, and a fly of 0. Yes. So I put mobile. I don't know. I felt really compelled. If you want to offer something or make an argument, you certainly can. I'm not opposed to that. I just wanted to keep the conversation moving as we're discussing this character. So don't let my impulse stymie your thoughts. But as we're only level 8, we get to choose 2. So we can swap them around. All right, Coffee. Thanks for hanging out with us a bit, and I'm glad you get to see your emotes put into action here. So we have T Bright, T Jade, T Mordecai, T Celine, and T Nora. Mobile or weapon mastery? Well, I think then for purposes of, we know some weapons. If he's willing to put in the work with the simple weapons he knows, let's make him mobile, because that's something that he didn't have before. And would also fit with that kind of like dodgy, misty step kind of fey trickery. You need to make time consuming. I have to create one NPC for every class and subclass. These will be the masters of my class schools. Oh, I see what you're doing, Triad. Well, so really, I mean, you know the class and subclass, so it's just coming down to generating the personality types. You know, a background. And you could do that fairly easily. With a couple dice rolls, you already have your slots filled. So just go through and randomly roll the aspects of your character. And you have fully fleshed out, perfectly acceptable NPCs for the different classes and subclasses. Yes, and because we haven't become them necessarily, we can become them through deception. Which, by the way, if we were making a short list, we could also put actor. Right, we can increase our charisma score. You have advantage on deception and performance checks when trying to pass yourself off as a different person, and you can mimic the speech of another person to sound like other creatures. If we wanted to sacrifice Skulker or Mobile for that, we certainly can, as I do believe that fits the character, and you also do get the charisma stat bump. Heavily consider that for whatever the character is in your own mind. You've made Lazav. Oh. Interesting concept. Yes, the actor feat. Alright, so we have our feats. We have everything else loaded up and ready to go. Now it's time to use the standard array to drop in the scores. For him, I really do think... Well, a charisma is obviously going to be a big one for him here. Let's say we do drop our 15 in there. I do think, being a smarty pants, I would at least want to give the 13 to intelligence. So now we have a 14 remaining. Probably, so he's a little bit more dexterous here. 12 wisdom, 10 con, and 8 strength. His strength just isn't what it used to be. If you want to have another discussion about the spread of scores, you're welcome to do so. But if we add in the human +1 to everything, that becomes a 16, a 13, a 14, an 11, a 15, and a 9. He has so much potential, right? There's so much room to grow if only he could develop everything by just a little bit more. Just on that cusp. And now that we have that, because neither Skulker nor Mobile is giving us any other adjustments, our strength is a -1 modifier, Dex is 2, Con is 0, Int is 2, Wisdom is 1, and Charisma is 3. And of course, this will change when he gets the proficiency bump and if he bumps up any of his other skills later on in our conceptual story that we're making for him. With these numbers now, we can go through and fill in our saves and our skills. Saving throw and athletics for strength is -1. 2's down the line for dex. 0 for con. Int is 2, except for investigation, which is 5, and nature, which is 5. Oh, Delcorin! You can't lurk in this stream. Exotic Butts will find you, and he will subscribe for you. Thank you again, Exotic Butts, for that. 4 wisdom saving throw, and 1's down the line for everything else. Charisma is 6 for the saving throw and deception, 3 for everything else. Light crossbow is a dexterity-based weapon, so we're proficient. We get a +5 to hit. A dagger is a finesse weapon, so while it's melee, we can use dexterity, so that'll be a +5. Now, sickles, if we go to Chapter 5 in equipment, sickles are not finesse, so we would be using strength. So while we're proficient, this would technically be wielded as a +2. I mean, do we want another dagger? We can. We took this for thematic reasons. Maybe you can talk to your DM and say, look, is there really a difference between a dagger and a sickle? Or if there is, because I have knowledge nature and I was a botanist before I took my pact, would you allow me to treat a sickle as a finesse weapon because I used it in my profession before becoming an adventurer? Your DM might say, you know what? It's the same damage as a dagger, and really, you don't really get to throw it like you can a dagger. So sure, I'll allow you to run it as finesse. Consider these things. Oh, Triad, hey, thank you so much for the follow. But keeping it, you know, vanilla, this is what we're looking at over here. So this is 1d4 minus 1 damage, which is slashing. Dagger's going to be 1d4 plus 2 because we're using dex. Piercing, and a light crossbow is 1d8 plus 2, also piercing. Current hit points. At level 1, you get your maximum hit dice, or hit points of your hit dice, which is 8. Now for the 7 other levels of our total of 8, you get half plus 1. I think this method works very well. I highly recommend it. Give it a go. But you might have a DM that will just give you the max or have you roll, or who knows. So in this case, it's going to be 5. Half of 8 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then for all 8 levels, you get bonus hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. In this case, it's 0, so this math is easy. No bonus hit points. 35 from our class. Well, from gaining levels in it. And then another 8 from our first. And that's going to put us at 43 hit points at level 8. And our armor class, if we continue to wear leather armor that starts at 11, plus our dexterity modifier, we have a 13 AC. Our initiative is a dex check, so that's a plus 2. And our passive perception is going to be an 11, because that's 10 plus your perception modifier. And that saves you so many rolls. It's just your natural awareness. So now, lastly but not leastly, Warlock, our spellcasting ability is Charisma, which, by the way, our spell DC is our Charisma, because that's our ability, plus proficiency. I'd hope we're proficient in our spells. That's 6. So our attack is plus 6. And to resist the effects of our spells, you simply add 8. Why 8? That's how the math works, and everything is your attack modifier plus 8. So there you go. Is 14. So we carry that over. Save DC of 14, attack bonus of plus 6. And we know we have 2 4th level slots, 0 slots of lower level, and we do get 3 generic Warlock cantrips, and then we get 3 Book of Shadow cantrips from whatever else we want. Going back to Warlock, by 8th level, you can see that we're going to know a total of 9 spells. So let's start at level 1. We know 2 spells. Level 1. So there we go. And then you can see we go to 3 spells known by level 2. But we don't have enough, we don't know a 2nd level spell slot, so it has to be here. By level 3, you can take a 2nd level slot. So we have a 3 and a 4, because now every odd level is going to give us a new slot here. 5 and 6. I will mention, and then 7 and 8. When you do level up, you can replace spells that you already know, or you can move spells up that you already know. Or rather, so if you want to move your level 2 to be a level to be an option of another level 4 spell, you can do so. You can play around with it. Is there only one level 1 spell you really use? Then upgrade the others on your level ups. You know, play with your magic stat out. This what you're seeing though is this is just kind of the easy way to distribute spells. So much booze, says Delcorin. Oh, Delcorin, I missed something pretty big here. Delcorin says, as the hip kids say these days, I'm so on point, triggered fleek, yo. And you do thank Exotic Butts for that. Perfect timing, too, because I just found out today that I'm only going to be broke for a couple months instead of in debt for a few. Life blindsided me a few years ago, and last week I was sued for a credit card I had to default on. I was able to settle for half of what I owe. Well, I'm glad that's out of the way and that you're going to be able to resolve that sooner rather than later, Delcorin. That is good news. And Luke, thank you for the recommendation. So now here, this is where we take a look at the Warlock spell list, which is in Chapter 11. Here's our cantrips. First, second, third, going into fourth. Remember that because of our patron, we have an expanded spell list. So we could take Fairy Fire as a level 1 spell, even though it doesn't show up as a first level spell in the Warlock spells. Because our patron has lent that power to us. But it does not count as an oath or a domain spell. And then we can choose our Book of Shadows cantrips from any class. So if we want to dip into Druid to represent the Sylvan or the Fey heritage, we can do so. You know, Wizard, who knows where we ended up getting this. The Fey will say, well, we invented all magic. And so Wizards actually stole it from us, so we're just giving it back to you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this character here. You can ponder the spells that this character will take. Because remember, the spell list is going to describe the journey that this character has undergone. And why this character has the spells that he has. Why did he take it? What was he adapting towards? What were his goals that he needed them to accomplish? We're going to take a 10-minute break, use the restroom, get a snack, do whatever you got to do. And when we come back, we are going to make an archaeologist character that will be in a party with our haunted one. And we'll see how these two, how this one manifests and how they'll get along together. I guess if they do at all. As we're building kind of an interesting party of alternate background characters. So, 10 minutes, everyone. We got this. And we'll jam out on another character coming up. And if you have spell suggestions, let me know here on Discord, and we can fill in the PDF.